going to be an hour of me fiddling with the camera.
Usually it's me fiddling with the camera because I don't know how to use it.
Well, I'm trying to, like, the menu is on the back, like, as you know, so I'm trying to, like, adjust settings, like, from the, without seeing them. So it's a little bit harder.
Yeah. Oh, man, these days just feel like they're going by faster and faster. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd rather have it be that way or if I'd rather have it be like it drags, you know what I mean? It's probably good that it goes by fast now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that, like, having your own business, it's like, just getting getting such fulfillment out of. I'm laughing at what I said to you right before this. When I just texted you. No, but having your own business, it just gives you such fulfillment in what you do day to day. You know what I mean? It's like,
speaking of, like, I was just going to say, just because we're laughing, like, I think wholesale is like a model that we talk about this all the time amongst each other. It's like this, I don't know, it's not made out to be this like fun thing, which is why I think a lot of people don't, I don't know. It's like not really on the surface extremely appealing or fun. Like, that's one thing that, like, we like to have fun with what we do. And you have some, whenever you're dealing with people, there are some funny interactions, and we definitely have our share of stories and jokes and things. And, like, I don't know, if someone's doing wholesale, I feel like it's entertaining. Like, there's a level that nobody talks about that, like, ever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like, the way we run our business, obviously, like, we put in a ton of hours, but we just, the jokes and the, I feel like that's important, to be able to do that, even if it's just networking with the community and just having people to kick things around with. It's like, that's what gives the fulfillment. It's like enjoying what you do every day and having fun with what you do.
Yeah, and it's almost something when it, might be a little tedious or like you almost have to, because it's like it's really serious what we do at the end of the day. So joking around about it, I feel like helps, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes jokes get taken too far sometimes, but yeah, you have to.
Most of the time.
Like, yeah. So if anybody's rolling in, feel free to fire away any questions. Probably
Yeah, we
dive
just
into a little bit of.
dropped a YouTube video actually, which was, from a filming perspective, I had a lot of fun with that one. I feel like we took the day, and it's a, my honest thoughts about selling on Amazon video. So if you haven't seen that yet, if you don't watch the YouTube videos, go check that out. That was this past weekend. But yeah, we had fun with that. Tied you to a chair.
Yeah. So we'll probably dive into some sourcing here in a moment. Just give it a few minutes for some people to join. It's kind of dead this Wednesday. I know last couple Wednesdays have been pretty lively, but I'm kind of dead right now. Everybody's doing arbitrage or something,
Yeah, everyone's doing glorified arbitrage.
GA. I came up with this new business model, right? A lot of people think it's I mean, how many times have I told you this? It's this business model. Here's the thing, right? You got arbitrage, you got wholesale, you got private label, right? Everybody knows that. I think that a lot of sellers, and this is now I'm being serious, like I think a lot of sellers who are doing arbitrage, they want to get into wholesale, which is great, right? But sometimes they find themselves in a model that is less safe and sustainable than arbitrage. And I call that model glorified arbitrage, because it's like you're buying products from maybe distributors or generic wholesalers, and that, they might not even be selling you authentic product, or they might not be selling you, maybe they're selling you authentic product, but you're still not authorized by the brand, or you're not able to get the legitimate invoice or documentation to back up your purchases. So it's like, I mean, I say go buy at Home Depot, go buy at Walmart, because you're safer doing that than buying from some shady distributor. And then people will turn around and be like, wholesale, it's not the way, because people are saying, hey, I'm getting suspended, this, that, and the other. But it's like, you're not doing wholesale, you're doing GA, glorified arbitrage.
Did I tell you? I don't think I told you this. I called a brand, I think it was last week maybe, and they deferred me to a distributor, and the place was a cash and carry place.
Yeah.
That was like, I looked up some pictures and I was like, this looks like the back of some guy's shed, and it was like just rows and rows of product. And so I called them. I just called it for, to just because I was curious. I wasn't gonna, we're not gonna buy from them. But I was like, I asked something about the product, and I was like, hypothetically be interested in a couple hundred of these. And the guy goes, yeah, we have 6. And I was like, that's it? And he's like, yeah, we don't really get more than that. And I was like, all right, nice talking to you. And then I hung up.
Yeah, it's glorified arbitrage. You got to be careful. And we always talk about that supplier vetting. Like, as we're going through here, just a couple of people popping in. Jacob, nice to have you again. It was a great call we had earlier on, Jacob. So keep firing away on those calls. CB, what's going on from Twitter? Pop in any questions you guys have. We might dive into some sourcing. I don't know. We'll play it by ear here. But what is, because that's a good question, right? It's like supplier red flags and the supplier vetting process. We have a very cut and dry supplier vetting process, right? It's like, it's either black or white. Like, it's a yes or no answer to a few different questions. And if any one of those questions are not satisfactory, it's like, we're not having any sort of conversation from that point forward. What would you say? What are a few of those questions that were?
I think the most important thing for me is actually the invoices. Like, even before being, obviously it's great if they're authorized by the brand, but if you say, can you provide me itemized invoices with my information, and they say no, it's like, all right, see you later.
Are you going to ask them if they can do that ahead of time, like before you place the order?
Yeah. I mean, that's, if it's something that, because you get a sense of it, right? Like, if it's a brand, you're probably not going to ask them that because it's the brand and they're going to be able to provide you with that. But if it's something like a distributor, yeah, I mean, and you can also double check with the brand to see if they are authorized or not. And that's the best way to do that, is to ask them. But I mean, before I even make that first purchase, I want to make sure that they can offer me legitimate invoices, because you never know. You can place a test order, you just hit the luck, your luck is bad and there's a compliance issue, and now you got to submit documentation on your test order and you don't have it. So yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the invoice is a must. Like, that's, if there's any hesitation around providing you with an invoice, like, that's a legitimate way to do business, is get invoices. So that means they're shady, number one. But I think even before that, like, if there's a supplier, in Telegram or WhatsApp, or like, you're contacting a supplier and they're like trying to sell you on buying their products, like, slow down. Or if you get a price list and there's all ASINs in it, or if you get a price list and the margins are crazy high, I've seen that before. The margins are like insane. And in that case, I'm like, that's a major red flag to me, because I'm like, all right, there's X amount of sellers selling the product. They're all, it's like, all of a sudden we're going to come in and make all this money. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between beginners and, more seasoned sellers, is that, the beginner is going to jump on the opportunity that looks amazing, right? But the seasoned seller knows that if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So I think that's step number one for me. Is like, it's vetting. It's vetting from that preliminary process.
That's what they say. If it's too good to be true, it usually is, So nothing about the business model is easy. Like and we've even seen that over the course of talking to many brands and closing many accounts, is it seems like there is a parallel between how difficult the account is to close and how much money it makes, right? The accounts that are just multi six-figure accounts usually are not just giving out exclusive agreements. If that was the case, everyone would be rich, So
yeah, well, I think, there's an inverse correlation between the difficulty of obtaining the account and profitability and reward. The harder it is to get the account, the bigger the payout at the finish line. So sellers who are contacting brands and they're saying yes to everyone, and you can make money on those products, great, but that's not what's interesting to me. Like, what's interesting is how I can educate that brand as to why selling to anyone and everyone is a terrible decision for them, and why it hurts their brand reputation, why it hurts their listings on Amazon and everything about it, right? So why it hurts their brand as a whole, not just on Amazon and other channels. So like, we're more so like, we get excited about the educational, like, that we can provide the brand to lead them down a path of potentially going exclusive. Whereas with most people, it's just like, all right, how do I make money as quickly as possible, or make a quick buck here and there?
Yeah, it's almost easier on a transactional basis to do that. Like it's less effort to just be like, here's some money, can I sell your product? And then if it sells, and you make money. I think that it's significantly harder. I know it's significantly harder to go that extra mile on things, but there's significantly more profitability and security in a relationship like that than just an account you could lose tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's even with distributors, like, we have some distributors that we work with, but I wonder, like, just with even some of the distributor accounts, it's like the sustainability of it. Like with the brand direct, it's so locked in. It's like, for years, it's like, it's basically years to come, it's months and years to come, unless like something goes wrong or they sell the company, or, something, different happens right out of the norm. It's, it can just continue to be profitable for you year after year.
Our worries are quite literally we are more worried about the brand owner selling the business or going out of business, or the brand owner, like, just whatever. Like we're more worried about these extra like outside activities happening than I think we are in losing the account in most cases. Like brands that you work and build this working relationship with, for the most part, and I would say the vast majority, will not turn around and be like, sorry, we just don't want to work with you anymore. Because that's not what a relationship is. It's more of an external factor that influences something like that. But yeah, with distributors, one day they could be there, the next day they could be gone. Like, you never know.
Yep. KB's got a question here. Hey guys, as a beginner, how many brands would you recommend to call a day? I want something that I can be consistent with, but I always want to do enough volume that I can quickly improve and have success.
It's a good question. I think that, first of all, you have to look at your lifestyle and what that looks like. And you also have to look at what your goals are on Amazon. Like if you want to create a full-time business and a full-time income out of it, then your inputs are going to have to be very different than if you want to just have a side hustle, right? So, first of all, I would look at that and see what you can stick to. But we recommend for the beginner, if you really want to scale, 50, 100, 150 calls per week So, or touches per week. So outreaches, 100 is a really solid number that you're going to get some serious results.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can get challenging, when you talk about following up with these brands and keeping track of all that, so really having a system to do that, whether it's an Excel sheet where you're color coding or a CRM, um, so you're able to manage all this. But yeah, I mean, in the beginning, there's no substitute for the reps, especially because you're lacking the skill set. So you got to put the work in. But that's a good question. Determine, like, maybe you have a full-time job, right? If you have a full-time job, then you might need to make calls, in the evening hours and hit the West Coast companies, or make calls on your lunch break. Like for me personally, when I was in college, I was calling in the study room. I'd go into the study room between classes at lunch, and I would make these calls, and I'd, try to hit I'd try to hit like 10 to 20 calls a day, which would put me at, the 50 to 100 a week range. And that's, how I was skilling in the beginning. So it's like, um, if you're determined to do this and set a goal to do this, you're going to get it done. Um, it's just a matter of allocating time to focus on the thing that is going to propel you forward in this business, which is reaching out to the brands.
Yeah, and I think that setting a manageable goal, like one thing I liked about that question was that it said I want something that I can be consistent with. I think setting a manageable goal is better than setting like I'm going to call 150 brands a week, and realistically, you don't have the time to do that, and you're not going to follow through on it. So I would see, if you've never called, like get a gauge on what those phone calls are like. Some of them last 30 seconds and some of them last an hour and 30 minutes, right? So just kind of get an understanding and then like back into it with based on your time and your availability. But shooting for what's going to get results, we focus on inputs, which again, if you can do even I think 50 as a beginner, I think you're still going to learn faster than most people. 50 calls a week is a lot. That's a lot of interactions, a lot of touches, a lot of different people's emotions that you're dealing with, and you'll learn a lot. And I don't think any call is necessarily a failed call, even if they hang up the phone on you, as long as you learn something from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't we jump into SmartScout, find a couple brands, and I want to emphasize how quick we can do this, because I think that's like a big thing in that people struggle to find brands, but like it's a very simple process in SmartScout where you can, comb through SmartScout, set your filters, determine, okay, what is selling on Amazon from a monthly revenue standpoint, cut out the big, enormous brands and the brands that Amazon is selling, get rid of the Procter and Gamble brands, and focus on the brands where you're able to build a relationship with. And that's going to be those smaller to mid-sized companies. So I can make a bet that by 7:30, that's 8 minutes, we're going to have found a couple different brands that we would personally contact in our business. And if I'm wrong, I don't know, think of something.
Dinner's on you.
Dinner's on me anyway. Yesterday was your birthday.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's the irony of I just think that's absolutely hysterical is close an account. What was it?
You're taking away from my time, by the way.
This doesn't count. So we'll give you an extra 2 minutes. Closed an account. It was like a week ago, and I wound up closing it. And so I said to Brad, I said, I'll pay for the next dinner. I said, I'll pay for it on my personal credit card. I said, I got it. I'll take care of it. I closed the account. It's probably it's a 6-figure account, like 6-figure profit account per year. It's over that actually. It's about 100 grand a year or more in profit.
What does that mean? Like I just want to, like, so people are clear, like what that, somebody maybe just getting into wholesale wants to know, like what, like when you say this is a 6-figure account or this is a 6-figure, like what is that? What are we doing to achieve that profitability? Like,
In
what does
terms of
that
like
look?
running through the revenue, like from the sales to the, like you're talking
Well, like,
expenses and that kind of stuff.
we're buying their product, right? So it's not just
Sure,
like
sure.
we just make 6 figures on the
Yeah, yeah,
first,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
like, that's what I was kind of alluding to.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're making, let's say you're making like $3 a unit, we're basically saying at the end of a year, you will have sold enough units to make $100,000 on that $3 profit per unit or whatever it is. Right. So, but we're purchasing, COGS can be, the cost of goods could be what, like, I don't know, 40% maybe of, is that a fair number you think to say, as far as of this, versus the sell price and everything. So it's not like you're just making that. It's not straight cash flow. It's, you are making per unit. And then when you have the sales volume, it comes out to the total annual net profit per year, essentially, after everything else. So, but it's not like straight cash. It's and you're also investing that back into other products. So it's not as glamorous as it might seem, right? But that being said, it's still net profit that adds to the equity of the
Driving
business.
growth for your business, it's
Right. Exactly. But anyway, point being was I said that, close the account for us. When I was like, I'll put this one on my personal credit cards. It's on me. Close the big account today. And my card declined for dinner. So it just goes to show you,
and I got stuck
the
with the
cash
bill.
flow. What happened?
And I got stuck with the bill.
Yeah, you probably got stuck with a bill. Yeah, exactly. Because it's just but like it's so funny. We was talking about that with the cash flow of this business. Like obviously that was my personal card, so I think I have like a $2,000 or $3,000 limit on that. I just use it for like whatever. But I just thought it was funny. Closed like a 1 point whatever $1 million in purchase sales volume a year account, and then card got declined for dinner. But that's the nature of the business, I guess.
Yeah, darkness. By the way, yeah, I mean, everyone should learn sales. Absolutely. It's a great skill to have. What is the importance of keeping the amount of sellers to a minimum on a listing? What do you say to a brand owner to show them value? What would you say? So yeah, there's definitely a couple different, sorry, I'm just laughing at what Jacob said here. He said, to use a payment plan for a Chipotle burrito.
Yeah, you got to get an afterpay. There's no interest.
Yeah, but back to the question here. So it's like couple questions there. I mean, that's a lot to unpack. I mean, the first thing is, I'll answer the first one, which is the importance of keeping the amount of sellers to a minimum on a listing. Well, one, there's an inverse relationship between the number of sellers and the price, the retail price. So as sellers goes up, retail price goes down. And most brands do not want to erode their retail price because it reflects poorly on their brand. And so it also hurts other channels of distribution, like their distributors, website sales, brick and mortars. It hurts other areas. So that's the primary reason to not have multiple sellers on the listing, is from a price standpoint. There's also another thing we like to say, which is, this is kind of some free game here, which is like, none of those sellers have a vested interest in the success of the brand on Amazon, right? Like when you narrow down the focus of Amazon sellers, you get sellers that have a vested interest in the game, and now they're able to, specifically with brand exclusivity, you're able to reinvest more back into the brands on Amazon. So that's kind of a buzzword we like to use, is this vested interest. You gotta have skin in the game.
All right, so let's restart your timer here.
Yeah, so I'm still gonna shoot for the 7:30. I think I could find a brand in 3 minutes. We're just gonna have to blow.
See, that was
through.
my strategy. I was gonna like stall you as long as I could, but I don't know. You're probably
I'm
still
still probably
gonna
find
brands.
a brand in 3 minutes. Let's see if I can do this here. So I'm gonna pop into SmartScout and set my filter criteria with a $20,000 bottom threshold and a quarter milski top threshold. I'm gonna set my FBA sellers to a minimum of 2 on each. And if you guys have joined us on these lives, this is why I'm kind of breezing over this. If you're not joining us on the lives, join us next time, because we cover what filters to set and everything. But I'm running on a clock here. I got 2 minutes left to find a brand. So 15 minutes, 15% Amazon in-stock rate as a maximum level. Am I missing anything?
The dominant seller country, that's about it.
Yeah, that's right. So we want the dominant country to be in the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those filters. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll through here and look for products that perhaps have a lower brand score, meaning their brand is underrepresented on Amazon. The listings aren't so good. Maybe, there's opportunity to improve. Good. Still, we know we have good, strong sales volume, and SmartScout presents this information from greatest to least, and then a decent, sell price. So like this, for instance, I'm like, all right, $430 sell price. I can make a lot of money, but this is ACR, which is a massive brand. So not interested in that. So I'm just going to kind of scroll here. See what I can find.
We'll give you an extra 30 seconds because of the filter time too.
Yeah, so nicotine gums, let's click on that, see what that's about. But I'm just going to pop back here. On this, see if I can find one more. Spike Ball.
I used to play that. That's a big brand.
Yeah, I used to play that too. It was a fun game. I feel like we did a tea one time. Was this the same brand? No. I don't even know what this is. Get rid of that. Low sell prices. That's another thing. Is like as soon as I see like $6-9, I'm like totally unattractive to me. Yeah, and this is really the process, guys. It's just continue to go through. I mean, we have 2,000 results. I'm not going to go through all those here, but like this is what we do, and then we, go and look on Amazon and determine, and just keep going down the rabbit hole.
Well, looks interesting. Yep.
It's nice, clean branding. Beauty products are nice because you get less returns. It's also replenishable, in the sense, or consumable in the sense that people reuse it, they subscribe and save.
Here we go. Is this our time right here? Because I think that this one might be.
Yeah, so this is our time. This is interesting. We found this one last time, so I'm going to close out of there. That was a nail polish.
I mean, I like what you just clicked on, that beauty product.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what else we had up here. This is a Tesa. All right, maybe something of interest there, but yeah. So, wow.
Yeah. So this is immediately a green flag product to me. I guess, well, it's a red flag product, which in turn makes it good for us. I also, first thing I'm noticing here is that it's a merchant fulfilled item, is the winning the buy box.
Yeah. So this
9 sellers right now.
This might be like a German company or something. So that's the only thing I'm thinking is they might be located outside the US. So it might be a little bit more difficult to contact them, but that doesn't necessarily, like, we would still reach out and go on the website and see where they're located to determine that. But, yeah, I mean, this is interesting because they had like 30, 40 resellers on the listing back in October, and they've since reduced their reseller numbers substantially, which tells me that perhaps they're trying to get control over Amazon. Product sells, 400 plus units a month at a $40 sell price. It's a nice little small item, so it's going to be low on Amazon fees, fulfillment fees. I mean, it's a pretty good find right here.
Yeah, there's it seems like it's a pretty organic drop off in sales, or I'm sorry, in sellers from what I can see. Let's see if that's the case amongst everything. Yes, they have a good amount of SKUs too.
From the perspective of like IP claims, or
no, it kind of looks more so like there's just been a distribution change, maybe some product got out and there were 1s and 2s that people had. Because if you look, there's a pretty sharp drop off, but it's not a direct drop off in sales. It's pretty organic from what it seems like. You see what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's like
slowly,
one at a time. One is selling out. Yeah.
gradually going down. Yeah. Yeah, another good tip for like anybody doing arbitrage is that one of the best ways you can source is to look at what you're already selling. So like let's say you got this product from like an online beauty website and maybe they had a sale or something, and then this is a bunch
Yeah.
of
We're saying
arbitrage sellers,
October.
right? Like, maybe there was some massive sale going on, bunch of arbitrage seller piled on the listing. Well, instead of just going along with the sheep in the herd and just, buying, tanking the price and selling out, why not reach out to the brand and see the value that you can offer them? I mean, that's a great approach for arbitrage sellers, is sourcing the brands that, you can't get continuous access to now because of the nature of your business model, and then turning around and finding the brand's contact information to contact them directly. Definitely a good approach, I think, for arbitrage sellers.
Yeah. Can you zoom out to the all filter on there? I just want to see what it looks like all the time. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I figured that was going to happen. So is that at the same time during the year? Or no? Yeah, it is. Yep. October.
Right around.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can see every year this is occurring. There is a big sale of this product somewhere, and a ton of people buy it, arbitrage, and then the stock is completely out by, whenever.
Yeah, you could have a good pitch with this brand on Amazon about controlling their presence on there. There are ways to control who's selling on Amazon. Like, that's a great way to source. So we would go right, and take that brand. I mean, that brand does not have any images on their listing. They have, their title is not optimized for Amazon SEO. There's tons of value to provide to that brand.
And they might not even know how things are happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
They might just not understand that products are getting in. They might have no idea how they're getting in. There's a lot of potential value to add there, but you never know unless you call,
Yeah. Darkness is asking a question here. What do you say to a brand when they tell you they're simply not interested in opening up a wholesale account and even the value you provide?
Yeah. No, go ahead. You want to answer that?
No, I was just going to say that it's all based around what the brand's tonality and the response. So you're going to reach out to the brand for a wholesale account, and they're going to tell you, yeah, sure, you can sell our products. They're going to tell you, absolutely not. We need an industry specific esthetician, licensed beauty physician, whatever the hell they're asking for, on staff. And that's not worth your time. And then there's the brands that are kind of unsure, which is the ones that we capitalize on. So I would spend your time there, because those are the ones that are going to be more receptive to the value you provide. And when you provide the value, it's not about just, spitting out stuff and spouting out value propositions. And, and a lot of people will just tell them how much they want to buy.
You just whacked your microphone and it echoed, like it would boom. It was like a super loud on this end.
Whoops. Yeah, a lot of people will push back at that resistance and tell them how much they want to buy or start getting aggressive. And that's just the worst thing you can do.
Doesn't work.
I mean, that's just the worst thing you can do.
Because at the end of the day, Amazon sellers, if they wanted, or brands, if they wanted to sell to everyone and anyone, they would. There's no shortage of people trying to buy your product.
No. And as we approach 7:40 here, I think this last question is a good question to close out on, in the sense of, how are you landing so many wholesale accounts? I have an idea on that question. Do you have an idea?
I do have an idea, but I'm interested to see what you're going to say.
I was going to say that like when we first started, we weren't landing a wholesale accounts. It's all about putting in the reps and the calls. So many is a percentage of how many you're contacting. So like if you can't land a wholesale account, 9 out of 10 times it's because you're not contacting enough companies. Like 90% of the time, that's the reason. And the other 10% of the time, well, maybe you're contacting too big of brands, or, you know, you need to maybe probably shift your focus in sourcing. So it's not even like the outreach component of it. It's are you contacting enough companies, and are you sourcing the right kinds of companies? Because if you're sourcing the right kinds of companies, small to mid-sized brands, then theoretically, you know, you should be closing more accounts because you're reaching brands that you can have sway with, or actually, you know, be in the game with, versus big P&G companies that, you know, you have no influence on. So it's all in the numbers game, you know, doing the reps.
Yeah, and then as you do more and more, it just you just like anything else, you get better at it, and you develop a sense for, you know, which accounts to pursue, and you just get better over time. So just putting the reps at the beginning, and then I think you can taper off the volume as you get better at it.
Exactly. So in 40 minutes, we found a brand that is potentially of interest that either one of us would call on any occasion to open an account, and provided, you know, you guys with some good solid outreach information. So, you know, we go live every Wednesday, 7:00. Love answering your questions. Any final
I was gonna
words?
say, if you haven't checked out that YouTube video, check that out on the channel Operation AMZ. My honest thoughts on selling on Amazon. So maybe if you're just getting started, or even if you're, you know, a seller that's been pretty experienced that's considering getting into wholesale, I think it's a great video to check out.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
See you next week.